Hi, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for joining me today for another flow. Today we're actually going to be taking a very much rooted flow, a grounding flow, to celebrate coming into Virgo season. If you are not aware, Virgos are an earth sign, much like Taurus and Capricorn, so we are going to embody a little bit of that earthly, grounded, stable energy today throughout this practice. So if you are looking for a theme, today we're really going to be focusing on presence and being stood firm in our current states. Other themes that you may like to use are being balanced, stable, creating those things for yourself anytime you may need them and knowing that you have them within yourselves, and rooting down again into the present moment. So without further ado, we're going to begin. I'd say this class is anywhere from beginner to intermediate. I am going to be giving you some variations, and if you do have blocks, feel free to grab them. You can definitely utilize them, and we'll begin. So we're actually going to begin standing today. In our mountain pose here, with our feet hip-width distance apart, we're going to bring the hands to either side of the hips, and as we do so, if you notice yourself to be a little bit more rounded in the shoulders, I'll invite you to kind of lift them up as you gently squeeze the scapulas together, and maybe you notice here in the pelvis how your pelvis is oriented. So maybe if it has a posterior tilt or interior tilt, you just kind of stack it under the spine, or imagine stacking it under the spine, so everything is in a nice, beautiful alignment here. We're going to take a couple deep breaths in this mountain pose, imagining ourselves rooting down through our feet. Keep breathing here, focusing on the intention, focusing on being present in today's practice. And on the next inhale, you're going to reach your hands just up overhead, glancing up towards the ceiling as you do so. And as you exhale, you're going to come into a nice, simple fold forward. So for this one, you can gently place fingers on the mat, not pressing away from the mat. Let the head hang. You can even have a nice little micro bend in the knees here. I'm really letting my spine round here. I'm not so much forcing or contorting in any way. I'm just kind of letting the spine hang, let gravity do the work here as I'm in this fold forward. If you'd like to intensify the stretch or make it a little bit more active, you can lift the toes, slide the fingers under, and then maybe gently pull away, straighten the legs just a little bit. Whichever variation you take, we're going to hold here just 3 deep breaths. Perhaps you sway side to side, invite in a little bit of movement here. Noticing we're still keeping those feet nice and firm. They're not going anywhere despite the body moving. Okay, inhaling, coming up to rise. You can grab your blocks if you have them at this time. If not, totally fine. And we're going to start by taking a nice bend in the left leg, okay? So with that bend in the left leg and the right leg straight, you're going to keep your left hand on the block or mat, and the right hand is going to come up into a twist. If you are able to, you can glance upwards at your right hand, or you can even bring that hand behind the back or onto the hip. Breathing here, we're not letting ourselves fall into our shoulders or our arms. Good, one more. And exhale, bring it back down to the mat or your blocks. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So bending the right knee, right hand stays on the block or mat, left hand comes up to twist. Good, exhale, bring it all the way back down. Coming back to another little forward fold here. Now that we've warmed up the body a little bit, another passive fold forward here. Just a couple breaths as you let the head hang. Good, inhale, lift the hands, bring them right above the knees, and try to engage the back to make it nice and flat. So again, if you're noticing that you round through the shoulders here, invite them through the scapulas to pull together slightly, just pinch. So the chest is being pulled slightly down towards the mat and you're gazing straight down. Nice and active here. Good, round through the back, release the hands. Inhale, bring them all the way up to the sky. Move the blocks if they are in front of you. We're going to take a sun salutation. So big breath in to start. We're going to take 2 rounds. First one's going to be a little bit slower, and then we're going to speed it up for the next one. Exhale, come down, fold forward. Good. Inhale, return to that halfway lift we just went through. Exhale, 2 of these. Plant the palms, step it back, and come into a nice plank pose where the shoulder is over the elbow, over the wrist, and we're pressing into the heels. Okay, big breath in. Exhale all the way down to the mat, keeping those elbows in. Untuck the toes, lift through the chest, come into our cobra pose. Exhale all the way down, tuck the toes, lift, coming into our downward dog. Now you can walk, step, or jump to the top of the mat, whichever serves your practice better. Fold forward, halfway lift, and then inhale all the way up, 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 up. We'll return to that extended mountain, okay? So we're gonna do that one last time where we inhale, big breath in. Exhale to fold. Press up, halfway lift, flat back. Plant the palms, step back, plank pose. Exhale all the way down to the mat, untuck the toes, lift up, cobra. Exhale, fold, tuck the toes, lift through the hips, downward facing dog. Step or hop the feet together. Fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale to fold. Inhale, roll up. Inch by inch, nice and slow. Hands come up once again, all the way towards the ceiling. Exhaling to bring them down to mountain. And we'll take a pause here. Check in with alignment. Again, making sure that we're grounded down through all 4 corners of the foot, so the front 2 and the back 2. Checking in with the pelvis, seeing where the stacking is occurring. So again, if you have that posterior or anterior tilt, guiding the hips flush under the spine. Checking in with our intention now that we're a little warmed up. Checking to see where our mind is and if we're present currently. If not, maybe just guiding the mind back to what we're doing right this moment. Letting every other obligation, every other worry pass for this moment. Saying, you know, I'll be back. I'll come back for you when I'm done. Good. Just one more breath in this pose. Very good. Let's take some side body stretches, okay? So I'm going to face you so you have a little bit of a better view. And I'm going to inhale, bring my hands straight back up to that extended mountain. I'm going to bring palms together, and then I'm going to flip my palms as I interlace the fingers right up overhead, okay? Take a nice deep breath in. And exhale, bend to the right. Holding here. Nice little side body stretch. If you'd like to, you can also take the left leg, cross it over the right. See if that takes you a little bit deeper in this pose. Good. Inhale, uncross, come up. Switch sides. You can do whatever you did on the other side for this side as well. Very good. Inhaling, returning back to center. We're going to swan dive. So releasing the hands, we're just going to fold as we bring hands down to the mat. You can grab your blocks if you'd like. We're going to step it back and come into our first downward facing dog. We are going to be working a lot with the legs today, so we are going to take this downward dog opportunity to kind of stretch them out a little bit. So we're going to walk the dog by paddling at the heels, trying to keep the hips nice and straight first. Just paddling them out. You can shake your head here. You want to try to get a little bit of mobility in the neck. And if you start to notice maybe a little bit more tension in one leg as opposed to the other, I'll invite you to hold that pose or that stretch on that side and maybe then continue on to the side after. Good. All right, from here, coming back to our neutral downward facing dog, we're going to walk the feet towards the top of the mat and just come back into a little forward fold just for a moment here. And on the next inhale, you are going to press up from the mat, slowly and slowly inching vertebrae by vertebrae up all the way to stand. We're not stopping here. Inhaling, continuing to bring the hands all the way up. And we're going to take a chair pose. So our seated chair pose, we're going to keep this nice extended mountain. And we are just going to, if you want, you can bring your hands to your hips. Send the hips back. We're going to keep that knee over that ankle. And once we're about here, you can bring the hands back up. You can glance down towards the floor, or if you'd like, glancing up at the ceiling, whichever makes you comfortable. If you'd like a variation here, you can try to sink the hips down a little bit lower while still keeping that bend in the knee without extending past the ankle. Or if you want a real challenge, we can challenge the balance a little bit. So engaging through the core, imagining we see someone kind of about to just put their hand here. What would you kind of do? You'd kind of tighten up a little bit, right? Once that happens, you can inhale, rock forward up onto the toes, and try to hold. And if you come out of this, that's fine. See if you can come back into it. And then if not, take the chair pose with the arms just up, hips behind you. One more deep breath in this pose. Okay? Very good. You're going to bring your hands together as you come up to return to that mountain pose. However, this time we're going to keep our hands at prayer. Take a pause here just for a moment. Breathe. Find your center again. Then we're going to, with the right leg, take it and bring it up in the inside of the thigh, coming into our tree pose. So the right foot is right above, if you can, the left knee. You can use your hand to kind of guide it if that helps a little bit. But your tree pose doesn't have to be high. Your tree pose can be toes on the ground, heel on the leg, standing here. This can be your baseline. And if you want to play with this and kind of see where your body is comfortable, what's still challenged, that's where you can kind of use your hand, test the balance, and that sort of thing, okay? So we're coming into this tree pose on this side, trying to keep the hips nice and square, pressing the knee out towards the right, grounding through all four corners of that left foot, keeping our hands to begin at prayer. And breathing. Again, we're engaging those abdominal muscles. So if you want to imagine tightening them, flexing them just a little bit here. If you'd like to challenge yourself, you can inhale, bring the hands all the way up overhead and glance upward. That does challenge the balance a little here. If you want a little bit of assistance in the balance, you can look straight forward at a point that's not moving. If there's a mirror in front of you, I suggest looking at the floor. Good. You can exhale, bring that leg. Now, if you can, little variation here. So the ankle is right above the left knee, okay? And we're just coming to stand. If this is not available to you, then that's totally fine. You can bring the leg a little bit lower, or you can come to take a mountain pose. But if this is available to you, awesome. If you want to challenge the balance a little bit here, you can take the hips, send them back, come into a chair pose with a little bit of a variation here. Remember, find a point that's unmoving. Inhale up, and as you come up, bring the knee straight up so the right foot is facing the ground, and exhale, coming back to our mountain pose. Very, very, very good. Now this foot just did a lot of work balancing and keeping ourselves straight, so I kind of like to rock back and forth, just a little bit, flex and stretch those muscles. Maybe you kind of walk the dog, but we're standing, so just kind of alternate lifting each heel, taking a moment here, acknowledging the hard work that your body just did and how it got to show up for you today already on this one side. Good. And to take a bit of a pause, once we're done there, we're going to inhale, big breath in, arms up, and just exhale, come to a passive fold forward, okay? Good. You're going to hold that fold, 2 deep breaths. And if you'd like to at any time, you're more than welcome to take a child's pose, a rested seat, whatever you need. We're going to keep going. and take the next side. So we're gonna get a nice rest after. So what we're gonna do here is press up from the ground once more, rolling through vertebrae by vertebrae to come up, inch by inch, hands come up all the way again, extended mountain. And we're gonna take that chair pose. So, nice big inhale. And exhale, send the hips back. Whatever you did on the last side, or the last time, you can take again here. And again, if you want to take that pose where you kind of challenge the balance, you can try to come up onto the toes, trying to keep ankles in line with the feet instead of splaying out to the side or inwards. Knees as well in line with the hips. Good. You can come down if you were up, and if you were in your regular chair pose, you can inhale, come up all the way. Hands are going to come to touch, and then exhale down to heart center. We're going to take tree pose on the left side. So this side might be a little bit different. Sometimes with tree pose, you'll find that one side is a little bit more challenging, one side's a little easier. So I always invite you to play with it here. So starting with toes on the ground, heel contacting about the ankle or right above. You can start to play with your balance. If you have a wall near you, that's amazing. And then once you find your center, again, we're active through that abdominal. We're not concaving into the shoulders of the chest. All four corners of the foot are active and pressing down, rooting down into the mat. Breathe here. And again, if you want to challenge yourself, inhale, bring the hands up overhead, try to glance upwards. Although we may sway, we do not fall, and if we fall, we get back up. We may sway, but that's not faltering, and we may fall, but that's not failing, so long as we get back up. Good. Exhale, bring hands back down to heart center if they were extended. We're going to take that chair pose with that seat. So using your hand, you can take the left ankle, bring it right above the right knee. Now, if this is good for you, you're more than welcome to hold this. You can also bring it a little bit lower if that helps. Maybe you put the toes on the ground and let that ankle kind of, or let the heel rest on the outer edge of the right leg. However, if we want to challenge ourselves today, or if we are able to, we're going to send the hips back. Try to keep that nice straight bend from the knee to the ankle. Holding here. Good. Inhale, come up, bring that knee up, 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 all the way straight so the left foot is glancing down towards the mat. And then as we exhale, returning to our mountain pose here. Very, very well done. Take a couple breaths here. Again, you can rock out the feet, walk them out maybe. I like to do this with my hands behind my back. You can also do this if you'd like, by coming into a forward fold using some blocks or just on the mat and just kind of walk the feet out a little bit here. Whichever you do, we're going to take 2 more breaths as we do. And this little rest for the legs, the knees. Good. And then using the blocks or not, totally up to you. We are going to place hands on the mat, step each foot back, come into our downward facing dog, and then gently bring knees to the width of the mat. Big toes touch. Send the hips back, walk the hands towards the top of the mat as you melt the chest down towards the mat. Coming back to the intention of today's practice of presence, of grounding, stability. Acknowledging being here now and being present in this current moment without worry of obligations for later. And if you notice that those anxieties of obligations or worry about things you need to do later do creep in, simply tell them that you'll be back after you've taken some time for yourself. Okay, we got 3 more breaths in this pose. Okay, lifting through the fingers, you're gonna walk them in until you're about half a foot away from the knees. Then you're gonna bring the knees together, if this is possible for you, and take a seat on the ankles as you walk your hands in to sit all the way up. If you'd like a little bit more support here, sliding a block in between the legs, right where the sit bone would be, just to give you that added support. Sometimes this doesn't feel super great for the back of the leg, and that's totally understandable. So sliding a block there really helps take some stress off the body in poses like this, okay? So once we're here, we're just gonna do a little bit of a spinal twist. So we're gonna inhale, hands up. Left hand is gonna come down to the right knee, right hand comes behind. We're gonna look over that right shoulder. We are able, holding as we breathe, 3 breaths. Trying to bring our abdomen in, if we can, in and up. At least we're thinking of that through the core. Give us a little bit more length, a little bit more room to twist. Bringing the belly button, that's what I was trying to say. I don't know why I said that. So many other things. Belly button lifting up closer to the rib cage, about into the spine. And then inhale, hands up, and take it to the other side. Again, lifting and lengthening, bringing that belly button in and up. There we go, that's a good cue. That last cue was a little messy. Good, inhaling back to center. You can bring the hands down right in front of you. Send your head, legs out to one side. Take a seat on your sit bone and come into a little bit of a bound angle pose. So we're going to bring the soles of the feet together. In between the big toe, you're going to bring your pointer finger and your thumb. And then from here, nice big inhale. As you actively try to push the knees down through the hips. Now, if this is not feeling like a super great stretch for you, or you want a little bit more, you can do one of two things. You can use your elbows to press into the legs as you hinge at the hips and lean forward, or you can also place blocks under the knees if you'd like more support. So a couple different variation options for you here. Both are going to offer really great stretches. As we hold here for 3 more deep breaths. Very good. We're going to use the hands, bring the knees together, extend as we inhale the legs down towards the top of the mat. Big inhale up and exhale to fold. Grab what you can grab. You can also put blocks on either side of the legs to reach and grab. That's more accessible to you. I'm going to hold here, this staff position, this forward fold. And just breathe. I'm letting my back round here. I'm not trying to force it to be straight currently. Very good. Release the hold you have, kind of like we did with our forward folds where we were more rounded through the spine. You're going to inhale, come up vertebrae by vertebrae, bringing the fingers and the hands behind you, fingers pointing down towards the sit bone. You're going to imagine someone's pulling your pelvis up by a thread as you press up, if you are able to. Just a little counter stretch. Trying to keep the hips in line with the rest of the body. Exhale to come down, walking the feet all the way, or the hands all the way down to bring yourself to lay down. Coming into our corpse pose here, inviting the hands to either sides of the hips. Palms facing up as they are open to receiving. If you'd like a little bit more support for the spine in this pose, you can bring the feet to the width of the mat. Let the knees fall into each other here. I'll invite you now to begin to close the eyes and do a quick body scan. See if you're noticing tension that's currently arising or being held voluntarily. So are the shoulders bunched up and towards the ears? If so, can we invite them to maybe draw weight down and away from those ears? Are the hands and fists? If so, can we invite them to open? Are we clenching in our jaw? If so, can we invite it to release, even maybe by just slightly parting the lips? We're not squeezing in the abdomen. We are breathing and allowing our breath to return to its neutral rhythm, or natural rhythm. The toes are not tightly curled. They are open and relaxed. And as you are in the Shavasana today, I'll invite you to return back to the intention of today's practice, which is being present and being grounded. Root chakra work is so important because we spend so much time in the upper part of our chakras that are overstimulated most times. So the crown chakra is quite overstimulated in our modern age. Information is constantly being thrown at us through the news and social media. It's almost impossible to navigate away from it all, but here in this moment, we can calm down the clutter and just kind of be with our breath, be with our body, and be witness to what is coming up for us as we are present in this moment. As we are grounded in this moment, in ourselves, physically, how are we doing? How do we feel now versus how we felt when we began? Mentally, what came up for us as we were flowing today? What thoughts did we experience? What sensations arose? How did the intellectual body feel as we put the physical body through different poses? What was your self-talk like? And last but not least, the spiritual body. How does spirit feel? Spirit being your essence. What makes you you? How do you feel about taking time for yourself today? How do you feel about being present? I will leave you with those thoughts for just a couple moments, and then I will invite you to wake back up when it's time. You may gently begin to wiggle fingers and toes, inviting in very gentle movement to the body currently. Maybe you bring your hands up overhead and take a full body stretch, reaching all the way from the fingers to the toes, taking any little movements that feel good and ease you out of your Shavasana and into the present moment. And whenever you're ready, you can gently blink the eyes open, adjusting to the light. Roll over to one side and join me in any seated position that is comfortable. To end today's practice, we will inhale as we lift hands all the way up overhead, and in between our hands, imagine the presence and the grounding energy that we created for ourselves today. As we exhale our hands all the way down to heart center, we solidify that this will never leave, as what is done cannot be undone. And as we bow forward, namaste. It is true. Thank you so much for joining me today for this grounding flow. I cannot wait to see you next time, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.